In this video, I'm still stuck in Somerset, waiting for the car to be fixed. But I've been out and about. Roll titles. Well, hi YouTube, Brian James up Micro Four Thirds guy with you once again, and yes, I'm still stuck on a caravan site in Somerset, a place called Breen, which is just outside Weston-super-Mare. Having said that, it's a gorgeous little site, a caravan and motorhome club site, and not many people here. It's really quite nice and quiet. In fact, it's incredibly quiet. Beautiful, immaculate site, as most of the caravan and motorhome club sites are, and yeah, it's just pleasant. But we were planning on being in Cornwall for the last 3 days, so we're rather stuck until tomorrow, when hopefully there's an alternator comes and a guy to fit it, and hopefully we'll be on our way tomorrow afternoon down to Cornwall, which would be good. Now, before I go any further in this video, about a year and a half ago, somebody said, when I used to say roll credits instead of roll titles, somebody said there's no credits on the beginning. Right. Okay. There was no credits on the beginning. Okay. But we had titles on there because it used to say Brian James, Micro Four Thirds guy, and what the video was about. So I changed it to roll titles. And then I got to the point I couldn't be bothered putting the titles on, because I like just the intro thing. You know, you could get as much titles as you want to on the thumbnail and things. So I stopped putting the titles on, but it became something of a catchphrase. Well, I've been caught out. I've been told off. Why do you say roll titles when there's no titles there? It's just an intro. Because I want to. Joking aside, yeah, I know there's no titles there. Sometimes I will put titles on, but it's become something. There's a lot of my comments seem to pick up on that as something of a catchphrase. So I daren't drop it now because I'll be in trouble with people. So yes, I know there's no titles, but still roll titles. It means roll intro, but I'm not changing it again. That aside, as I say, I'm stuck here in Somerset, and although I don't have a car, I thought to myself, well, we're still going to have to get out and do something. So we had a nice walk down to the beach yesterday, and a little wander along, and I managed to see this lovely little church. And I went into the church, and I picked up a little bit of information for you on it. So I took some photographs that just literally I put the G100 and the 12 to 32 millimeter f3.5 to 5.6 lens on it into my pocket. No gimbal, no little handle to be able to hold it, literally that. And I didn't know what I was going to take photographs of, but I was determined I was just going to go out and have some fun taking photographs. And as I said, I saw this wonderful little church. And I do a lot of church photographs up in Cumbria, and the vernacular architecture up there is incredibly different to what it is down here. Vernacular architecture. I got that from a guy called David Tate. Sorry, just diversifying a little bit. I used to work for a company called Lilliput Lane Limited, or if I say with the teeth properly, Lilliput Lane Limited, who were based in Penrith in Cumbria. And the guy who founded it, David Tate, really, really nice guy, unfortunately departed from us, which is a real shame because he was a fantastic guy. Him and his family set the business up originally, and I ended up as head of IT there, or joint head of IT. I did the technical systems as the manager in charge of IT there. And one of David's sayings when he was going around looking at the models was about, he used to do presentations on how he got into making these models and all the different styles as he went around the country, and how he used to travel up and down on the train when he was in the army and see the different things, and you know, the thatched roofs on the Cotswold cottages and things like that. And it was one of his favourite sayings was about the vernacular architecture of Britain, how the different places and the different areas had a distinct change in how the architecture looked on the houses and the buildings there, and of course his models. So that's where I got it from. So yes, the churches up in Cumbria tend to be very, very different. A lot more red sandstone amongst them, and the occasional limestone sort of churches, but mainly red sandstone. But this one was very different. So I wandered into the church. I saw a really nice lady outside, wandered into the church, and she suggested I pick up one of these. So it was St Mary's in Barrow. Now, Barrow, not Barrow, because Barrow's in Cumbria, but Barrow, and this is the church in the sand dunes. What a fabulous little building it is. And just to give you an idea, just looking through the text on this, it was originally, there was a church, the earliest known thing was from 1020 AD. There was a church, but none of those building remains are still there. Now, it says about 1850, a fairly substantial church was built on the site, but the only thing that's left of it now is the base of a chancel arch. So the main building that we see on these photographs started about 1280, but it's been built on several times from then. So really interesting building, this one. Tower itself is 15th century and in the perpendicular style, it says here. And it says that this was a period where most villages were rebuilding their churches in that sort of time span, the 15th century. And the windows date from then or later from that. One thing really tickled me as I was reading about in the pamphlet that I've got, and that's a description which I'll read you out in a second, because a couple of years ago in 2020 we had some big things happen in the world, and this was just so reminiscent of what happened there. Let me read you this out from the booklet. On the exterior of the north wall, just opposite the pulpit, a leper squint has been blocked up. Now, there was a bad outbreak of leprosy in the 14th century in England, and unfortunate sufferers were forbidden to live in the village, but they had to live in isolated huts, not seeing anyone. If they saw anybody, they had to move away from them, and anybody spoke to them, they had to be on the windward side of them. The lepers were not allowed to take part in the church services, but could only peep in at the priest celebrating Mass. Life for lepers, deprived of joining in Christian worship, must have been pretty grim indeed. Very similar to what we've had in the last couple of years, really, when people got a certain disease or a certain virus, and when they tested positive for it, nobody would go near them. They were locked up in their own little huts, couldn't go near anyone, and if anybody did go close to them, they had to keep a certain distance away and go on in the windward side of them, just in case it was passed on. Very, very similar. 500 years of difference, but incredibly exactly the same in a slightly different way. So anyway, I'm not going to go into the details of it, just let you see a few photographs. I'm going to put the photographs at the end of the video for this. But we had a really good walk around. One of the things I did see, which I've never seen before, was an amazing green algae. As we came out the caravan site, there's a small river, small stream, which runs down alongside it. In fact, it runs where I am. It's actually straight behind me. On this side where the bushes are. The other side of those bushes behind me in the car is the little river. Runs right through the middle of the caravan site. And I looked at it, and it almost looks as though someone's emptied a tin of mushy peas on top of the water. It is a real bright pea green. It almost looks like a pea green soup in the river channel, as opposed to water. Really interesting. I took a few photographs of it, and it just stands out. It is in real life as vivid as it looks on the photographs. It really is. But like most places, there's one photograph you'll see where I'm looking along the river, really nice shot, and right in the foreground is a beer bottle or a wine bottle. And that says an awful lot to me about the world we live in. I keep on saying about taking photographs and telling stories with your photographs. Well, as an artistic piece, having the beer bottle there is maybe not terrific, but as a storytelling piece, I think it's very indicative of the world that we're living in, where you've got such natural countryside, beautiful countryside there, spoiled by somebody throwing an empty bottle into the river. And you'll see it when you get to the end. Keep watching until the end, because I'll put a whole load of photographs on. But you'll see one of them, the bottle is right in the foreground, and it does make you think a little bit. It certainly tells me a story about how irresponsible people can be. Now, don't forget, before I go any further, if you're not a subscriber to this channel already, please hit the subscribe button and give me a big thumbs up, because it really, really does help. I mean, you've no idea how much it helps this channel. We're almost at 10,000 subscribers, 9,216 I think it was when I looked last. So we're getting very close to 10,000, and I'm working out what to do for a 10,000th video, by the way, but we'll come to that in a later video from this one. But back to the church. Fabulous little church building, and it did present me some problems, because I walked in the church. In fact, the lady invited me to go into the church, which was really nice. And as I looked around, beautiful little church with oak carvings and things in there, very, very period for when it was, 400 or 500 years old, a lot of it. Beautiful to walk into. A lot of the pews had been taken out and replaced by wooden seats, which seems to be the norm in churches these days, because they'll use the church building as a multifunctional building rather than just one for prayer. They'll use it for youth groups and all sorts of things. And for that, the pews couldn't be removed, but the chairs can be. But the problem I had on this one was how to manage the light. Because this lens only opens up to a maximum of f3.5. It is literally the little 3.5 to 5.6 pancake, and it's only a 3.5 when fully open at 12mm. So by the time you get up to the 32mm, you're down to 5.3 and 5.6. 3.5 to 5.6, 3.5 to 5.6. So you're down to f5.6. So you're starting to cancel an awful lot of the light out. So I was shooting some of these shots. I had auto ISO on. I was shooting some of these shots at 3200 ISO, and they seemed to come out okay. Not for such a small camera. It does pack a punch above its expectations. So I took some shots inside. Beautiful windows in there, not easy to get because of the super low light levels inside compared to the high light levels on the outside of the window shining through. So the main window in there, what I decided to do was not even try to expose the inside and just literally have this glowing window on its own with the background blackened. So as I say, all those shots are at the end. I'll keep on bringing you some new shots. Hopefully I'll be able to get out when we get down to Cornwall and see some fantastic places. But that's been put on hold for a few days. So hopefully we'll have some more videos at in the next couple of days and at the beginning of October, as I'm going around into Cornwall first of all, then Dorset. So fingers crossed the car's going to be fixed tomorrow. Let me know what you think about the idea of the little churches. Do you photograph buildings in churches? Is it something which you enjoy doing? And how do you go about it? Is it something that you have a particular style on, or do you just like to take photographs of the buildings? I know I tend to like to have a wider lens than this. I do like put my 7 to 14mm lens on when I'm doing churches and buildings like this, and get some really impressive shots where you're looking up and getting converging parallels and things, which I mentioned a couple of times in this in the past. But I think for just going out with something in my pocket, the little G100 with the 12 to 32 did the job a treat. Very, very light, very, very small, very pocketable, and not bad results. So, until the next time, before I go, don't forget these wonderful people. Here are my Patreon patrons, and they give a huge amount of support to the channel. The channel can't work without the support that you give, because I just couldn't afford to do some things I'm doing. So these wonderful people, which I'll be uploading a video especially for them today, because each month I put at least one video up for my Patreon patrons, which you on YouTube don't see for another 2 weeks. So they'll be getting one go up tonight, which you won't see until, well, middle of October, unfortunately. But if you would like to become a Patreon, the Patreon patron, I've done it again. There's a link below in the description, and there's also a PayPal link if you'd like to leave me a cup of coffee. A donation for a cup of coffee. Thanks to everybody who has been recently. It's been a few years. I try sending messages out to people as much as I can to thank them. Not always easy. And also there's a super thanks button below as well if you'd like to do a one-off support in that way. But until the next time, keep on taking your camera out and keep on taking your photographs and have fun with them, and maybe even tell a story or two. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.